welcome back to our channel at Two Goths in the Coffin. I'm Amari,
I'm Jude.
and today we are getting into our second installment for I guess this little series that we're doing where we are doing a interview with a vampire rewatch. We are going to be talking about episodes 4 and 5.
Yeah, two
And
super easy, super light episodes.
super cozy.
Yeah, cozy.
Totally had such a good time watching these. The first time I was in the way I felt after watching episode 5 the very first time was kind of worrying. I was like, I don't think I should be this affected by a
Television
TV show.
show. Yeah.
I shouldn't be like this much like distressed. Like my body feels like ugh. But this is a gothic horror.
Yeah, I feel like, a lot of people, especially like early on, I guess, I don't know, were like, it's the gay vampire show. Girl, what kind of interview is this? And then they were like, hey, this is gothic horror. And then this episode is like full throttle, beginning to end gothic horror. Um,
Mm,
and we're like, "Oh, we're watching a horror show."
I forgot for a
I'm sick to
second.
my stomach
Oh
now.
my goodness.
But yeah.
Anyways, yeah, so we're gonna get into it. If you haven't watched our first part of this, feel free to go back and watch it. If you're just interested in episodes 4 and 5, then join us in this discussion. As we said, we're doing a full rewatch of season 1 and season 2
Mhm.
ahead of the season 3 premiere, which is coming out. By the time we post this, it'll be coming out in
6
6 weeks, which
weeks.
is wild. Can you believe that?
That just made me feel so scared. I don't know why. Like the anticipate I'm like, "Oh," like we talked about this last time at the beginning where we're like, "Oh god, it's happening." But
Right.
it's like each thing we get, I'm like or like reminder about how close it is. I'm like, "Oh my god."
Yeah, no, it's really insane.
Yeah.
Also, this is a little bit off topic. I'm gonna bother Jude a little bit,
Me?
but by the time this post, it'll be like the week after. But as we are recording, it is
Oh.
Lesbian Visibility Week,
Oh, it
and
is.
congratulations for being lesbian, Jude. You're visible.
Thanks. The way I didn't know. I never know when it is. I never know when Lesbian Day of Visibility is. I never know when Lesbian Visibility Week is. I don't know when any of the days are.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I got you. So I got you covered.
Thank you.
Period. Anyway, so let's go ahead and just like jump into it. Uh, and
Episode
starting with
4.
episode 4,
Was
where
it the ruthless pursuit of blood with all a child's demanding?
I think
I
so.
think I said it
Sounds about right
approximately
to me.
correctly. This is one of the longer titles
Yeah.
in the show, in the series. I think
Yeah.
that rivaled only by in season 2, the light by which God made the world before he made light or whatever it is, which is one of my favorite lines in the entire Interview with the Vampire novel, but it's a long title is all that to say. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Quite a few of these are long though.
Yeah, they're
Good
like
quotes.
it's
So
reminding me of, like, the old meme of, like, Fall Out Boy titles being super long. Like like, not to show my, like, elder emo age, but
Grandpa.
yeah.
Yeah.
I went to Warped Tour anyway. That's how old I am. But yeah. Anyway,
Anyways.
at the end of season 3, episode 3, we're given a little glimpse of Claudia, and then this one is it's all Claudia's POV.
But how it starts though is
Yes.
with Daniel taking a
One of
little
the few scenes that doesn't have Louis in it that we were talking about it,
yeah,
the Daniel and Rashid Mond,
it's a little Rashid act.
where he decides to debut the low plunge
Yes! I know,
wig.
I was gonna if you didn't mention it, I was gonna mention it. I was like, in my
I'm
notes,
gonna
I'm
mention
like,
it.
I have to mention the fact that he finally brought out that deep V, and he did that for me, actually.
Mhm, yeah.
Also in preparation for, the second part of the slutty role play where they in
Oh,
episode
yeah.
5.
Wait, I have a wait, no, I don't know if it's the same day. I
I
was trying
think
to
so
remember.
because when Louis comes out,
He's
he's
wearing the
wearing
same
that
outfit.
same, yeah.
Oh,
I realized that
interesting.
yesterday as we were watching.
Yeah, that it's the same day. I find that so interesting that this,
Yeah,
like, when they introduce Claudia, they talk about all like, they get up to all of it.
yeah.
Oof.
I
Um,
know.
but
Wild.
yeah, it's been
Um,
also because it's a season 1 rewatch, it's been a while since I've seen Bailey Bass, and I was
I
like, "Oh."
know. I know. She's so cute.
She's so
I
cutie.
honestly, like, I feel like both Bailey and Delaney perfectly fit the eras of
Mhm.
Claudia that they are both portraying, and it was just it's perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
S
I love it. But yeah, so first of all, Daniel is like, on the phone. And then here comes Armand, and he's like,
Yeah.
we Louis not gonna be available right now. He's resting. But we have things for you to see. Follow me, I guess.
Yeah, and his, like, "We've approved the medication you're going to get
I
today with
know.
your doctor, and you'll see it in your electronic mailbox." Um,
Honestly,
s
should have been the first tip off.
It was!
It was.
Daniel
He
writes it
has
down
it
in
in his
his
notes.
notes. He opens up, like, the secret, like, notes app file he
Yeah.
has about, like, what's weird about Rashid, and so, yeah, he goes, they show him all the diaries that they have, and you pointed this out when we were watching it, that, like, they center it in the reading room, which has all the rocks in it, when we learned
Mhm.
later that, like, Louis sits in those rocks, puts his feet in the rocks to, like, ground himself and center
Yeah.
himself. But so I think, like, putting it there, like, really sets up, like, how heavy this is for Louis, and also I think the fact that he decided to take a lot of rest before coming in because, like,
Yeah.
talking about Claudia is gonna weigh a lot on him.
Yeah.
Um, but
Ugh.
yeah, and then we have Daniel jumping into reading these diaries, and
We
I thought it
fully
was
intro Oh, go ahead.
oh, sorry.
No.
Um, I was gonna say, I thought it was really interesting how it's filmed where, like, you have the bits that are Claudia's POV, like, the things that she was conscious for are, like, from the little, like, eye they have, like, that eye, like, vignette
Mhm.
on the film, and then there's the parts that have no vignette on them that we kind of, like, assume that's the blanks that Louis filled in later for her, but it's, like, the things she remembers because she's, like, messed up.
Right.
She's, like, in and out of consciousness, from being in a burning building. But yeah, she talks about calls Louis the Black Angel and being like, I was taken to heaven.
Yeah.
And then, I got turned, like, they the other angel bit me.
And that's when I realized those are what she
These were
call them?
demons. She's like
Yeah,
hell
hell
demons.
demons.
Yeah. And what I thought was heaven was just a really nice room. And I'm like, I love I don't know. I always think about this, like, older this person who, like, they document or, like, archive, like, old diaries and journals
Mhm.
and, like, the way that things are written because, like, there was this one, it was a teenage girl, and it was like, um class today was so boring and so didn't talk to me, but like, I think I'm gonna see if I can get so and so to ask me to the dance. And then the last line is like, we landed on the moon today. And it's just like the way that teenagers write about big events where it's just like, this is
Yes.
how I feel. And it's like, also something really big happened.
Yes,
Is like
yes.
I love that tone of voice that kind of happens in this, episode where the what we would consider inconsequential things at the very beginning, I would say, when she's still,
Right.
like, very young,
Yeah.
the inconsequential things are weighed as equally important as the really big important things.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and then she's turned into a vampire and
And really kind of introduced into the family dynamic
thrown
um
in immediately. Where'd they
immediately.
get the clothes?
I know, like, y'all just that's a good question.
Did Louis be like, "I gotta run to the store real quick"?
Him and he picked that shit out too. Oh my
Mhm.
god, he's so
I
I
do okay, we were talking about it, then, like, the little, like, baby doll outfit is
yeah,
maybe, like, not great, but
it's
I
not
also
great.
love the outfit.
Yeah.
So,
It's like, she looks really cute in it, but
she looks really
also
cute.
I'm like, "She's 14."
But we talked about this a little bit in our Claudia podcast, which you should watch. I think it's what Claudia is the loneliest girl in the world or
Yeah.
something is the name of that podcast episode. But like the idea of the teenager, and I feel like we can kind of feel this happening with Claudia in this episode, and I also feel like at the beginning of episode 5, in my
Mhm.
opinion, like the conceptualization we have of like the teenager is a post World War II conceptualization or like idea and social construct because like before that point it was kind of very class dependent. Like if you were of like working class or like lower class, um you were basically a child and then an adult. Like at
Mhm.
around the time that Claudia's age, like 14, you have a full-time job, you know?
Mhm.
You're working. It's like 1917, like when she was
Right.
turned. She
Right.
she would have had a job or at least been about to get a job. Um and then if you were more upper class, you were still a child. But
So then
yeah.
that's kind of very reflective of, like, Louis' choices and
Yeah, that,
the
like,
things that
he's,
he
like,
picks out.
14, that's a child,
Yeah.
and so Claudia, I think, allows herself to behave younger because she's enjoying
'Cause
the
she didn't really
change.
get that, to be
Yeah,
honest, like, not she didn't grow up in a very, like, safe environment, so
no.
I think for a while, she's okay with
Yeah, I think she's definitely, like, reveling in the being able to be a little kid that she was never really able to be,
mhm.
um and also she, like, literally gets power, right? Like,
Yeah,
she gets
at the
turned into
same
a
time.
vampire, and then
Like,
she's able
that's
to, like, have a childhood for a little bit, and then she's only able to have a childhood, and that becomes the horror.
yeah, but she doesn't realize all of
Doesn't know
that.
that yet.
She doesn't know that. But I also think what's interesting in this little scene as they're kinda chatting, in the little courtyard or whatnot,
Mhm.
um, is the start of, like, the tensions also within the family dynamic.
Yep.
Because we did also talk about this also in our podcast
Yeah,
a little bit, but, the fact that Louis and Claudia can, like, talk to each other, and also the fact
yeah.
that we know that Louis was kind of he's been so distant from, like, community and Black community. I'm sure that, like, now he has someone who can kinda relate a little bit more to him.
She represents a lot of things for him, um, and I think she kind of, like, hints that she can sense that she has maybe more of a metaphorical purpose, and she mentions that a couple of times because in episode 5, she
Mhm.
also brings it up that she's like she kind of understands that she wasn't brought here purely out of, like, the
She's
goodness
kinda
of
here to
Louis's
fix
heart.
something in this.
She's here to fix something, um, and but, yeah, at this beginning thing, we get, like, this, like, very domestic,
Yeah.
sort of setup, um, and
It's both, like, very cute, but also if you think too much about it, it's kinda you're kinda like, "Ew," but, like,
yeah,
it's also
it is kinda icky if you think about it too much, but I think that's the case with most domestic setups, but
yeah.
I'm just, the way I am. Especially in, like, making this building the nuclear family,
Mhm.
I think, you know,
The nuclear family doesn't
is
even
a
work well
prison.
for humans. You think it's
Yeah.
gonna work well for a bunch of vampires? Oh,
Yeah.
lord.
And then we were talking about, like, she sleeps in Louis' coffin, and then when they get her own coffin,
They
she
still
still
have
has
her
to
in that
sleep in her
room.
room in their room, and we're like, "We know there's another room because they refurbish it for her later, but, like, you couldn't have just put it in there while, like,
Yeah, it's
the
not like she needed a
renovations are being made.
right. Like,
Just drag a coffin in the room."
Especially y'all gonna be weird and sneaking
Yeah.
into each other's coffins while she's sleeping there. Hello?
Yeah.
Anyways,
There is starting to be like there's those crossings of boundaries like early
boundaries.
on where they're just it
Mhm.
becomes in a very gothic way, the family becomes very claustrophobic.
Yeah.
Like everything is really close. And I think Louis kind of occupying the space of parent and sibling for Claudia because like he is a parental figure for her socially, but Lestat is both of their makers.
Right.
So there is already like this claustrophobia here in terms of like roles and dynamics, and I think that's why it's easier for Claudia to try to like be able to swing Louis into the position of brother
Brother.
because she's like
Because he already kind
technically we
of,
are. You know,
you
like,
know,
if we think about it,
me.
Lestat's both of our vampiric fathers. Like, he is both he's our parental figure in this household, and I think she starts to see that as she gets older, and then, like, especially
Mhm.
as she's approaching Louis's mortal age,
Right.
that becomes, like she starts to see them as, being on even footing. Um, but not yet.
Not quite yet.
Not quite yet. She's, experiencing yeah,
Right
like we said,
now, we're just
she's
having this, like I said, happy little domestic montage, dancing. And, she says that sometimes we argue, but we also, we
she's able
laugh.
to get in between them and make it right.
Haha.
Haha, yeah. But also something we were talking about as well is, like, Claudia these 2 are not ready to be parents.
Yeah.
Like, you can feel it very early on that, like, they hadn't considered and oftentimes, they didn't consider the after, um, and putting her in situation like, the first we noticed the first person they want her to drink was a drunk person, which is like,
Yeah.
did you
We
consider
yeah,
that
I
because
I
he would
hadn't
then
really
be drunk
processed
immediately?
that. Yeah, I hadn't really processed that the first time that I watched, but when you mentioned it, I was like, "Oh, yeah."
Yeah, I
And
was
then,
like, "That
like, they
guy's
don't fully
drunk."
explain anything to her. They should like, you would think that before pushing her out of the car, they'd be like, "Hey, okay, don't you can't drink until like they die. You have to stop before they reach that point.
Mhm.
This and this and this and this and that." But no, like she goes and she drinks the cop. Period.
Yeah.
But and after Louis like, whoa, 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 slow down, hold on, you can't do that because you'll be sucked in as well. And I'm like, why didn't y'all tell her that beforehand?
Yeah. And then when they bring her back and you can feel both well, in the scene with the cop, you can feel like Lestat is kind of being like not imposing, but like starting to be like are like this is my way of doing things. And then
Mm-hmm.
when they bring her home, Louis assuming that Claudia feels guilt
Mm-hmm.
um about the murder when it's just like she doesn't feel bad about anything. She's already
Mm-hmm.
ready to kill somebody else.
Mm-hmm. She's like,
It's just like we
I
can tell
think.
immediately that they both see Claudia as like this thing upon which they can project what they want. Because I also feel like maybe at the beginning Lestat was like, oh, maybe and I think you can see that up until like the Lover's Lane scene of Lestat being like, maybe I can make this one more like me than
Right.
Louis is. And you can feel Louis being like, maybe I can make her more like me, unlike Lestat, you know?
Mhm, mhm.
And so they're both kind of trying to influence her to be more like them, and she's her own person, which is very
Ain't that
parents, you know?
I That's what I was gonna say, ain't that the way though?
Yeah.
I'm like, "You guys, you have to remember that she's gonna be her own person no matter what," like, but
Yeah.
yeah.
And so we get through like we've kind of been bouncing around. This one's a little bit freeform. You gotta
Yeah.
just ride with it. Um, but yeah, so then, Lestat does take her to the Lover's Lane, where we were also talking about how like this being their version of like the talk because Louis I think would be too uncomfortable to
Mhm.
recognize that Claudia may experience sexual urges. I don't think he wants to think about that. And then
Mhm.
Lestat is kind of like you just have to how do you not know this?" And I'm
I'm
like,
like, "Well,
'Cause
how is she supposed to
who told her?"
know? How is she supposed to learn?" You sh
Yeah.
but also
And
this
he
being
the
like
way he, like, throws her
yes,
into it by basically being, like taking her to where a bunch of people are having sex and having her watch them, it's a very
it's not
uncomfortable scene,
it's
but I
more of
also
those
feel like
weird, like, boundaries that
mhm,
are just
it's a weird boundary, for sure. It's I don't know. It's not great, but, like, also I'm like, I don't know that Lestat or even Louis are equipped to have the conversation
no.
because I don't know that they got the conversation in a way that would be useful to pass on to someone else.
Yeah, yeah, I no,
Um,
they no,
yeah, do
definitely not.
you
We
think
actually did kinda I kinda said that, after, like, watching because we also get the funeral bit, that's
that's before, that's
yeah, that
just before the
I thought it was
Lover's Lane
before,
scene.
okay, okay. Yeah, we get the funeral bit, and that's, like, one of the times you see Louis being kinda, like, super kinda he's putting on a certain kinda energy. I
Yeah,
do think it's interesting that
very
that was from
threatening.
Claudia's perspective, like, she's the one who saw that when I don't think Louis would have fully admit that he was doing all that.
Yeah, that he was, like, getting in his like, looming over his sister to, like, physically intimidate her because she wanted to buy a house he doesn't use.
Right. And while she was being homophobic about it, um, still, there's a definite power imbalance there, so it's not
Yeah.
great.
Because,
But
like, she does live in the house that he owns,
yeah,
and then she's like, "I want to own the house I live in," and he's like, "Did you see what I did to that door?
I'm like, "Hello?"
Measure yourself," and it's like, "Okay."
Though he was right for talking that way to Levy, though. I'm kidding. Not Grace though.
Yeah,
No,
it's
I did say that while she shouldn't have been homophobic about it. She did kind of gag him a little bit by saying like, "Do you think you guys should be like?" Her reasoning was weird, but like, really, they're not equipped to take care of to raise a child. They're really
no.
not, and that's why it is the way it does. Like, so I was like, her approach, her motivation wasn't great, but she also wasn't
Yeah.
completely wrong.
Yeah, like, for sure, and I think that scene we also see Claudia interceding to break up that tense moment as well.
Mhm. I guess, I
So
was literally thinking about that.
yeah, so, like, this is we can kind of see that, like, this has been what Claudia does, is that she has to sense the vibe and then, like, step in to redirect the energy,
Mhm.
um, and it's not
She's
that's
a
not a great
child.
position, she's a child.
That's not her responsibility.
Yeah, and then what were we saying? Yeah, the whole issue with the Lover's Lane, but then, like, Claudia realizes that, like, she's been an adult for a second. She says,
Yeah.
like, she's 18, and this is when we start to have the really complicated conversation about what does sexuality look like for her, because when she's going through her clothes and one of the dresses she pulls looks so much like the baby Lulu dress, which is crazy to me. Um, but she
Don't do that.
overlaid I had realized this a while ago when I was pausing looking for something that, like, the diary entry that's overlaid on that is the one about her being like, "Will I be a virgin every time I do it?"
Mhm.
That, like, this is already something she's thinking about,
Right.
and she's in a they put her in many ways, they put her in a very tricky spot. But she's like, "I'm gonna be an adult." And I also think and she wears that, like, outfit that she stole from, like, someone she killed. And I find it interesting that, like, Lestat's like, "You need to grow up and, like, get a clue about sex." But then, like, when she dresses like an adult woman, he's like, "Where are you going?" So, it's like he can't decide if he wants her to be grown or a child. Like,
Right.
if she needs to grow up and mature or if she needs to stay a little girl. And I think it's because, like, this sort of, like, patriarchal relationship is very contradictory,
I
and
mean,
I
it Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was gonna say, and also like as a specifically like a black teenage girl, she's simultaneously like adultified and infantilized. So it's whatever suits him in the moment, or like however it makes him feel uncomfortable or comfortable to treat her
Right.
is how he treats her.
Right.
So it's we start we see that because I was like, that's really weird that like Lestat is the one who's like, where are you going dressed like that? And he was the one who also took her to the lovers lane
Yeah.
and then was like arguing with Louis about it when Louis was like, you took her where? And he's just like, she's too sheltered. Like,
Which is it? Anyways, this is when she meets Charlie. Good
Charlie.
old Charlie. And she starts having her first little crush. And it's all very cute. She's waiting for him to pass by her window.
I
Um,
love that you can see all the clothes she lined up to like try on so she can be wearing like the perfect outfit for when he passes by, and then she just grabs like a random book to be like, I'm not even like paying attention. I was just out here. But she like clearly is just holding the book to hold
oh,
it.
it's so sweet.
And I saw a while ago someone point out that they keep being like, don't run in the house. But it's just like, that's a rule you put in place for kids who will get hurt by
Hurt,
tripping and
yeah.
falling. But Claudia won't. So it's just like, because it's annoying to them. So it's like the arbitrary rule of like, don't run the house because I don't want to hear you run.
It's the most. I always say that's the most like black mama thing that I ever heard Louis
When
say.
he's
I'm like,
jumping down, when she's running down the stairs and he's like, she's coming around, like, I know I told you already.
leave her alone.
To not
Damn. Oh my
run in
god.
my house, running down my stairs.
Oh
It's
my
just so funny.
goodness.
But yeah, she gets the flowers, and then we see her like have to block her learn how to block because she wants Louis to
Some
leave her alone.
privacy. Some fucking privacy. She's now an adult. Like,
Yeah.
but once again, nobody knows what boundaries is in this fucking house. So
And Louis being like, "Who's Charlie?" And it's like, mind your
mind your
business. She's allowed
business.
to have something.
God.
Um, and we were talking about how like I love the interesting sensuality of like when she's talking about Charlie. I
Yeah.
love the line of he's got veins like rivers.
I was
And
like,
then
dang,
it
she writing poetry over here.
yeah. It's just like, oh. Yeah, and she's got like all this like imagery in there that just feels like it's it's unburdened by self-consciousness and
Mhm.
also about like preconceived notions about what's supposed to be like sexy. It's just like her thoughts and what she
Yeah.
feels,
Ugh,
and it's so
I love that.
interesting. I love it. um yeah, and so she's like, I'm going on this date, and she's on the date, and I love that the ice cream had like strawberry
Look
swirl
like,
in it, so it kind of looks like
yeah.
blood.
Yeah. Yeah. So
And
good.
yeah, and then she has the whole conversation with him at the little thing. It's where she's like trying to explain that she is not as young as she looks,
Mhm.
and that
I know how
she
she feels.
yeah.
Mhm.
Oh my god, every day of our lives.
I still get I've gotten people I am 31 and just a few couple years ago someone thought I was like 17 years old and I'm like me and Claudia twinning him, I guess.
But yeah,
But yeah, but it can't stay happy and cute
no, it's gotta be
forever.
sad.
And
Because like it is this like rush
mhm.
of adolescence, like
Yeah,
the desperation
yeah,
where she drinks from Charlie, and she accidentally drains him,
yeah.
and she doesn't know what else
It's
to
so
do,
sad.
and so she brings him home, and
Why was
unfortunately,
Lestat smiling?
um,
What's up with him? What's his problem?
I don't know. I think he
I feel like he's like, "Oh, look, her big milestone," but, like,
Yeah, I
But,
think
like,
it's
I'm
a
like, "This is not what she needs
schadenfreude
right now."
type of feeling where it's like I feel like the whole time.
It was almost kinda, like, similar to that s it was very I don't know, it reminded me of the smile that he got when he was talking to Louis in episode 3, like, during the little riot or whatnot.
Mhm.
He like, it's almost like he's like, "Well, these are just, the vampire milestones," while not understanding that his
Yeah.
family is distraught. Like, this is not
Yeah,
the reaction you need to be having with them right now.
I think that's definitely a part of it for sure. I think he doesn't take it seriously.
Yeah.
He's not really taking her pain seriously. I think he sees it as like just like a teenage she's being she's overreacting.
Yeah.
They're being like teenage histrionics, of being
Yeah.
like, "Oh my god." And he's just like, we've all drained somebody like during sex by accident, and he's like not taking her pain seriously. And then when she like, you know turns around, she's like kind of like research like, I'm upset for real about it. He's just like, why do you think you can raise your voice at me, like energy. But she's like, in distraught, and she's like, turn him, and he's just like, he has this vibe where he's just
Mhm.
like, why do you think you can ask things of me?
Mhm.
I'm not gonna do that, because like also he can't, but like he the way he goes about it is just like, don't tell me what to do, don't
There's,
make
like
demands of me.
there's no, like, gentleness, there's no, like, soft explaining and, there's no comfort, it's just
Yeah, it's just him, the way he like lifts Charlie's arm and then it like slams on the
like, that
table,
was so fucked up.
and he's just like, he's dead. And it's like,
And it's upsetting that also Louis doesn't, like, stand up for her in that moment either,
no, he waits until afterwards to
which
have
is
a fight
very
about it.
also toxic. When you have a dynamic where you're like, you have the very patriarchal father, and always remember that, Louis still within the
Mhm.
reality, is actually a father role. But like within their dynamic and the patriarchy,
Yeah.
the mom who kind of stays quiet and just like turns a blind eye or doesn't say anything to defend you or and
No.
just lets it happen. Maybe
Yeah.
you'll say something afterwards, maybe they won't. And Louis does at least like afterwards is like that's fucked up, but like like I think we said that when we were talking about it earlier, like the damage is already done.
Mhm.
Like the damage is already done.
Yeah, like there seems to be a couple of times where like Louis knows that Lestat is going too far, but he doesn't personally want to take on the responsibility of confronting it in
Mhm.
that moment, and then does it after. But like, yeah, it doesn't, it makes it feel like Claudia's on her own.
Yeah.
um
We also said, yesterday, we talked about this is also before, um, obviously episode 5 and, like, the big, like, domestic violence scene, and so,
mhm.
like, this is also still at a point where Louis is a little bit more confident with, like,
Yeah.
you know, talking to Lestat
Yeah.
and telling him, like, "Hey, you can't fucking do that," and he still doesn't really do anything right here.
Yeah, and
He
like
doesn't
you can
say
tell that
anything.
he doesn't agree, but it's the way that he doesn't step in for Claudia. And
Yeah.
he does that a lot. He does it in season 2 with Armand as well, where like he has no problem like undermining Armand when it comes to other things. When it comes to Claudia, he waits until after to have a conversation about it, and it's like, why not say it in front of everybody when it would mean something to Claudia?
Right.
But yeah, that's just a,
Yeah.
a habit of his. And so like Lestat makes her put Charlie in the incinerator, and then he makes her watch. It almost feels like when you have a little kid, like, and you let them touch the stove to burn their hand, to be like, not gonna do that again, huh? Like, it's like that's not an effective way to teach someone not to do something. It just makes them feel like you won't protect them, which he
Right.
won't. But like, she's like, this is not a safe person. And I think up until that point, I like she says straight up that like Lestat's not her favorite, but like they do have common ground and like they do have they do spend time together just one on one.
Yeah.
But I think this is the moment where she's like, this is not a safe person, and this is
Yeah.
not a person who has my best interests in mind, or who cares about me, or who takes me seriously. And he's done something to me, turned me into a vampire. Like he's put me in a situation where I'm stuck in this like turmoil, this vortex of like feeling everything at like full throttle forever. She has
Mhm.
like teenage hormones forever, and that's
Mhm.
never going to change.
Mhm.
And then I also think in this moment is when she also is like, Louis isn't going to step up for me, and I think that's then is solidified at the beginning of episode 5.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then this is when Louis actually enters into the scene in the modern day storyline, and I think it's really interesting watching it again that like Daniel looks like he's affected by it until Louis shows up, and then he makes a rude little quip,
Which
the
he's not
Anne
for that
Rice
shit.
meets Stephen King quip, which is really not Anne Rice, Anne Frank. I'll kill
And
myself.
Frank.
I said Anne Rice.
At first I was like, wait, and rice? What?
No, sorry. Anne Rice is on the brain. It's an Anne Rice adaptation, but like Anne Frank meets Stephen King, like which
Mhm.
is really gross to say. But
Yeah.
I think he says that he weaponizes it on purpose because every time he feels an emotion in season 1 especially, he has to do something else to
Mhm.
like be like it's
He especially can't let Louis see any kind of
no.
vulnerability, I guess.
No. And I think we
Um,
see him ramp it up especially in episode 5 where
which is
like
so like why
I think he's overcompensating for the end of episode 3, where he let himself be very vulnerable with Louis, and so
mm,
in this one, he's being very antagonistic.
can I say one thing that's not important?
Yes.
This is also one of my favorite Louis Dubai outfits.
It is. I
His
love this
little waist and
outfit.
that little the
And the
silhouette
way
is
that
his
he
most
chooses to
androgynous.
stand
Ugh,
when he shows up, like, to be like, "I have to show off
he's like,
the silhouette of the outfit." He's like, "A singular style," or like and he was like, "You're so annoying." But
God,
yeah. And then I think in moments of this, like Louis kind of drops the I don't I hate to call him pretentious, but like the air that he's carried for the first 3 episodes.
yeah,
And he's just like, Claudia was everything.
yeah,
Like she just she and which is, that's a lot to be like she was everything, but like for him she was, and I think even as time's gone by she's just become more of a monument for him. But yeah,
mhm.
I'm like
Heartbreaking. And
it's
then,
very
like I said,
heartbreaking.
Daniel just out here being so rude about it. He's like,
Yeah.
just a bad day for a shitty marriage. And he's like, I was actually gonna say something else, but thank you.
But I
Um,
think everything he was gonna say was gonna kind of amount to that. That
mhm.
she bore the brunt of fixing their relationship.
Yeah.
Um,
It's the delivery.
it's the
It's the
delivery that's very
the
callous.
way it comes out. Yeah, that's extremely callous. Um, but yeah, so and then you have Claudia, who has
Oh
this
my
like
gosh, the
very
amazing monologue.
heartbreaking monologue to her diary. Um, and it sets the stage for the next episode, episode 5.
Mhm. I also
Um,
noticed for the first time that when she burns her arm here in episode 5, when he shows the bite marks, it's still not fully healed.
mm,
Like, I think that's showing a lot of things. One, how recent it's been, and also like how she doesn't heal as fast as the rest of them.
mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, now we get this monologue. I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, "This is crazy." It's so good. I love the manic energy of it, where like
Right.
she's
Right.
in turmoil and she's like, "I'm doing great. I'm doing just
Right.
fine." And I'm just getting started. And like, as she's, which we know because of the sequence of events, she wrote that to then walk out and burn her arm. Like, she's manic. She is in a horrible mental state at this moment. And then, moving into episode 5, a vile hunger for your hammering heart. Um, Another banger line. um, she is just getting started.
Yep. She's like, all right, gonna go round the block and
Kills so many people, but like, if we talk chronologically, it starts with another crazy scene where it's Louis drinking from Armand as Daniel's reading Claudia's diaries aloud.
oh, that's not good. That part's not good, if you ignore that part.
And I was saying, like, this time I was
Yeah.
thinking a lot about it as in the sense of, like, no matter what, Claudia
Claudia's
is
presence
present
is
in the Louis
always.
and Armand relationship. I
Mm-hmm.
think there's no time when Louis will look at Armand and not think of Claudia and, like, what happened.
Exactly. Yeah.
um and so, like, this very erotic moment, this
They're insane for
vampire
this.
sex moment where, like, Louis is drinking Armand's blood and, like, Armand is, like, gasping and, like,
Louis
whatever.
making his little sucking sounds. Like, can y'all all calm down?
Yeah, and, like, Daniel's on the other side of the table, like, but yeah, and then Armand gets his most agitated, I would say, in this scene, in during his, like, Rashid cosplay, like,
Hmm.
where he is just, like, kind of shares his feelings about the whole situation, where he's like, "If you publish this, Louis gonna get killed."
Yeah.
But yeah, and then Daniel, like, reasserts his, like, position by, like, just shoving his cup
And
at
that's the
Rashid and
thing. That's the thing,
saying,
because he doesn't know that he's
"Refill."
Armania, but he's so quick to whenever he feels a little destabilized or whatever, he's so quick to like knock down on a
Mhm.
person of color. Because even later on in season 2, he does this again with
Yeah.
actual Rashid. When he's no longer doesn't he feels like he no longer has any kind of power in the room.
Yeah, he's like, "Let me turn to the only other one I think I can get."
Yeah.
But yeah, and then we jump into the Rue Royale dynamic, which I'm never gonna get over Louis filling Claudia's room with birds with broken wings.
Stop. Stop.
I
Stop.
if I
Stop.
think I spoke about it in one of our podcasts about, like,
Birds.
the birds
Yeah.
motif,
Yeah.
and I
Is
love this one, and, like, it's evil, but I love it as, like, such a pervasive, like,
motif that.
motif in the show,
Mhm.
and also that goes back to the books of, like, birds and madness and, like, loss of control, all coming back to, like, birds,
Mhm.
um, but yeah, and I also think it's so another one of, like, Louis being a little presumptuous of being like, "Claudia, who does not eat animals?"
Yeah.
Him filling her room with animals that
With
she's
birds.
not
Just a
gonna
bunch of
eat,
birds. Like,
and now
yeah.
there's a bunch of feathers in her room, and who's gonna clean that up?
He does finally say maybe you can bring back one of your kills, but like that's
Mhm.
after he's already like
Filled the
there's
room with
feathers
birds.
everywhere. Like, oh my god. Are there any more birds left in the city? Like
No, Louis grabbed them all, and then they go through her and well, Lestat starts off going
yeah.
through her
But once Lestat
diaries.
gets it, he's like, well, I guess this is you already started. I
Yeah,
guess
you
I'll
already, popped the
yeah.
top on it, I guess I can because, like, he's like, "No, it's private," and then once Lestat reads the diary entry that we kinda saw overlaid earlier, Louis just takes it and starts flipping himself. Claudia killed too many people. We start
Yeah.
looking through and
It's not
she's killed a
great.
lot of people, and she was collecting their last words, which I think I love this
Collecting
aspect
their
of
last
Claudia.
words and also collecting little body parts, little trophies.
Yeah. And another thing we talked about in our Claudia podcast was, like, I feel like after all of everything that happened, she when she kind of takes an inventory of her own body and then she
Mhm.
starts taking pieces from other people's bodies, it's because now she's like I think she's itemizing people. Like she's like
Right.
this she's like obsessed with like the body, and like now she's disfiguring it in other people.
Right.
Um and it's a I really think that's an interesting way to deal with it, especially cuz like I think they're referencing, cuz I remember in the movie at the very least, when Claudia hides the body of the woman in her room and Lestat finds it in the movie, that it's like kind of referencing that, where
Mm-hmm.
like this is what she wants. She wants this body
Yeah.
and she
The
can't have
fact that
it, so
like
she's
the
gonna
one
keep
thing
it.
that they specifically like mention, like the one breast that she takes and
Hmm.
has it in her dresser, like
Yeah. It's very, you know,
yeah.
it's getting a little Hannibal Lecter in there.
Mm-hmm.
But she's going through it. You've never had a breakdown, teenage breakdown.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
But and then this is a moment where when they confront her about it, and like Lestat kind of like shoves her against the
Well,
bureau.
this is after like the police come through and question them.
Well, no, it's
Oh wait, no,
before
no. Oh, I didn't
this.
know. I thought you were
Yeah,
talking about after. Okay, okay,
no, yeah, we're talking about. I'm just talking about.
okay.
I'm
We're
jumping
skipping.
around a little bit.
We're moving around.
Basically,
Okay.
when like Lestat like shoves her against like the
Yeah.
armor or whatever it is, like Louis like looks like he looks away when she's like, "Are you gonna let him treat me like this?" And he just
Mm-hmm.
is like, "Yeah." Um, and I think that's the moment when she's like, "So he doesn't have my back."
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
this is moving beyond something, like, where it's not just like bad punishment he doesn't stand up for. Like Lestat has there's like impact. Like this is like a physical altercation, and Louis is not stepping up because his feelings are hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Um and it's not great. um yeah, and I think, we kind of see Claudia be a little bit more, grow a little colder to both of them. I think especially with what like happens next when the police do get involved.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's like, fuck you guys. Like
Yeah.
you didn't stand up for me. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
stand up for you.
Exactly.
It's the whole cops are in the house sequence.
I do kind of love this sequence though.
The show
Down
does,
from
yeah.
Louis not being the worst liar ever once again.
He's such
Like he
a
should have
bad
just been
liar.
quiet. He's like, we sell them, and I'm
He's
like,
like, we sell incinerators, and I love Lestat being like, yes.
he's
Because
like,
he's like, no, I
God
got a
damn
yes
it.
and. But yeah,
And then Claudia, when the cop like closes her, room, she's like, I'm getting
Y
dressed.
yeah, the show does a really good job
Acting.
of, like, finding the humor in the really messed up bits, like, when it's applicable.
Yeah, I think
Um,
we talked about humor and horror a little bit before in different
yeah,
things, and how we are not people who we're not big
I'm
like
not a
horror
horror
comedy
comedy
fans
person.
because we prefer for the I guess the horror to kind of elevate the horror.
The horror to
Um
elevate the horror.
the humor. Did I say
Yeah.
humor? I They're both H words in me.
Yeah, no, I got you.
The humor to elevate the horror.
Yeah,
So, and I feel like this show does a really good job of that when they do pepper it in.
mhm.
Um, yeah.
Yeah,
And it kind of
definitely
brings some like
levity that you
lightness to all
need.
yeah, to all the tension. Cuz
Yeah,
it gets dark. It gets dark.
it's a very heavy show.
Yeah.
And this whole sequence where it's just like, the cops just being like just barely missing all of the murder stuff that exists in that house, because it's a house
I
of
know cuz even I was
3
like,
mass murderers.
Claudia. Oh god.
Yeah, she's like frantically trying to run and hide all her like serial killer trophies,
Oh
as
my
she's also drunk
I
during
know.
prohibition in the house. And they're just like, "Oh
Poor
my
girl.
god, if it's not one thing, it's another." And like Louis and Lestat are going through it because like you know, they're also having to be like, we got to cover up these murders.
Also,
Yeah,
or
and
also, maybe more so, they're looking at us because they're like, gay?
well, we were making a joke at the end that like when Louis was just like, we're law-abiding, tax-paying citizens, and they're like, you might want to add another bed to the bedroom if you want to start making those claims. And I'm like, Louis got so caught up with all of the murder, he forgot that he was gay.
Yeah.
He's just like, oh no. Because I also think like for a long time, Lestat's money was able to like buy them the privilege of being queer. Like it was an
Mhm.
open secret in even political circles. Alderman Fenwick knew it. Tom Anderson, who we know like is in office now, knows it. Like it's an open secret. But and I think Lestat's privilege buys them that. And
Mhm.
like that's always kind of been the case. So like money and race can buy you a lot of things.
Yeah.
And one of them is
But I guess
being
only
gay
for
when it's
so
illegal.
long.
Yeah, well, when you kill 56 people, it starts to you kind of you kind of stretch that goodwill a little bit. Um, but yeah, and then they have like this like I and what I like about this is that it does there was this goofy, you know, sort of like bah, 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 like, you know, montage that then gets like thrown into reality when they confront Claudia about it.
Mhm.
And when she's like, I'm alone. Like
Right.
who's gonna want me?
Right.
And she's like, perverts or little boys? Like,
Right.
and then she's like, and 100 years from now, still little boys? And like, she's just like, l- she's like, you have look at what I've and it's the most like I've said this before that like I love characters who are kind of a Frankenstein, and this is like the most Frankenstein of like make me a companion, like
Right. Yeah,
pleading
yeah,
with
yeah.
her maker to
We
make
still gotta
her a
make our list.
companion. I gotta make my PowerPoint of like characters who are a Frankenstein because Claudia's on the list. Um, and um,
Here
I was
goes the
also had
stat.
noted that like the guy she has in the room was
Oh,
like an
yeah,
adult
no! No, I hate it
because I was thinking because she is
when
an
you brought
adult
this
now.
up.
She's like so I think I don't know, but who would follow her home? Like that's why she's like she says perverts are little boys. Like she's just like the people she's been having to try and find this like connection with, and she's not happy with any of her options.
Yeah.
And then we see that she's been like trying to turn people because she has all the
Yeah.
bite marks on her wrist, and instead of having a difficult conversation with her about she can't make fledglings, they Lestat says it in the worst way possible where he's just like, you're a mistake, you were never supposed to be made. Says she's built like a bird, and then it's like, you know, you can go out and try and fight other vampires, but they'll kill you, like because you're wrong, you're not supposed to be this, like.
Yeah.
And
This is the first time Louis finally says something, a little
yeah,
something.
because he can't
But
ignore it, because like
yeah,
this is the most
it's
egregious I think, where like
right.
Lestat looks at her first of all as like, you ruined our relationship, you're ruining our lives, and you're a mistake. And Louis like,
We
"Mm,
literally
no."
we we're
Because
the
then
ones who
for Louis,
turned
yeah,
her.
he's like, they turned her, and also, like, for Louis, she's the opposite of a mistake.
Yeah.
She's the saving grace, and also, like, you know, she's the only reason he's still around at this point.
Don't forget it. Don't
Mhm.
forget that, Lestat.
But it feels, like,
Um,
very, like, standard, like, let's stop being like, "We were so happy before we had her," like, and I'm like, "No,
Louis
you
like,
weren't." Yeah.
okay. Sure. But then and then
Yeah.
Claudia calls out the fact that also Lestat got himself a side piece still
Mhm.
who has a flat no nothing ass.
Yeah, I think that's so funny that she,
He's
like.
like, "Oh, you said it. You're like, oh, you like someone with the
It's
fuller
like
figure?
yeah, there was, like, a
Hmm,
post I had seen where it's like,
interesting."
Lestat said he prefers when Claudia says one of the most uncomfortable
I
things in that
know.
entire argument,
Yeah.
because it's kind of like she's like, "Well, who's gonna take responsibility for this then?"
Yeah.
Um, but she's like,
She's like, "I'm in discomfort.
yeah,
We're all gonna be discomfort.
we're
Let's
all gonna
all
be
sit in it
uncomfortable
right
because we
now."
all have to think about what you've done.
Yeah.
Um, and so, like, she's like, "Lestat says he prefers a fuller figure, and yet his mistress has no ass."
Oh,
Like,
interesting.
interesting. And I love that Louis was able to put it together with all that. He's just like,
I know he's like
mhm. But yeah, so we learn that Lestat's been unfaithful, and you know, Claudia leaves, and with
Mhm.
this like last little like bomb thrown out there, when she leaves, Louis and Lestat are super resentful because when they're talking about the things they can't do,
Mhm.
and they're like, Lestat is like, no friends, I guess. Like, it's just,
I was like, "Y'all got friends
I
still?"
think Lestat has friends.
Who's he out
We
here
know
talking to?
he interacted with like we learned the season finale that he went to the opera society a lot, talked to
Yeah.
people there. Like he goes out. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Claudia leaves and she makes a good point that like she is never going to know the life that she could have had because
Mhm.
they made an executive decision for her. And
Mhm.
now she's stuck in this situation and they've chosen for her that she's going to be unhappy and they've chosen for her that she's never going to be able to have a family, have a normal partner
Mhm.
and lead a life. Um and Louis is like, I wasn't, like it was, we didn't know if you were going to make it. And she's just like, so it's your choice to make.
Mhm.
Um, and then Lestat's already ready to like scrub Claudia out of their lives of just being
Oh,
like,
yeah.
let's dismantle her room. And it's just like, she just left.
I know. I'm like, "Can you calm the fuck down?" Like, it was like, "You're not fucking doing that.
Yeah.
Don't touch her room." I'm sure
Yeah.
that he's still very hopeful that she was, like, gonna come
I
right
think
back.
he was thinking that it was just going to be a phase. She was
Yeah.
going to leave and then she was going to come back. And he like goes out and I think it's very apt that like the Great Depression happens while he's experienced his own Great Depression.
Mhm.
Um and he's just like going out to like her old neighborhood, which is like all messed up and like burnt up and boarded up and like calling out her name
Mhm.
to try and see if he can find her. But then he also says that for years her mind has been closed to him. Like
Mhm.
she cut him off kind of early, like once
Yeah.
she knew that she wouldn't have any privacy. And I think it's interesting that like she learns that skill and Louis has to be taught it much later. Um, I think that's also like a show of like privilege because like Louis doesn't need to hide anything. Who's he gonna hide
Mhm.
it from?
Mhm.
But Claudia needs to have things to herself because otherwise it's not gonna be hers for much longer.
Right, and she doesn't have
Um,
anything else that's hers.
yeah, no. So she goes off and she's like, I'm gonna learn about other vampires. I'm going to college.
Yeah.
And does all of that, finds all this, looking at all this info because she's like, I gotta learn what I can so that I can see if I can find other people who are chill. Um, and she does not. Oh, wait, before this point, before we get into it, I want to say this is also when Daniel shocked me for the first, well, not for the first time, but when I was watching it, like, I can't conceive of someone not sympathizing with Claudia. So
Right.
when Daniel was just like saying everything he was saying, I was like, what are you talking about? How do you not find this tragic? And he's just like, calls her like, equates her to like a school shooter. Like,
I
you
know,
know,
I thought that's so weird, and so, I don't know, it's really gross coming from
yeah.
him.
And then like says the thing about the sexy Claudia
Yeah.
costumes and all of this. And like on the one hand, I get that what he's saying in the sense of like you don't get to control the legacy of the thing you put out there. What sticks is what sticks.
Yeah.
But also it will be informed by how you portray it. And like Louis kind of says that where he's like, well, you can put the diaries in the proper context because if you kind of like portrayed a certain way,
Mhm.
then there's a greater chance that people will treat it that way. But if
Right.
you straight up treat it like,
But he's already disinterested because he's already decided not to, like, empathize with her.
yeah, and I'm wondering how much, because he says at first that he liked Claudia, and I'm wondering how much of it is Daniel saying that because he knows it'll piss Louis off,
Mhm.
and, like, he knows that this is a very, like, this is something that they share in terms of, like, they have daughters that they have, like, complicated relationships with, and he's already decided that he's not empathizing with Louis anymore, and
Mhm.
so when Louis' like, "Oh, we got daughters," Daniel's just like, "Fuck off." Yeah, but yeah, so she meets Bruce, and I can't explain how the dawning horror I had when I was realizing who this guy was when I first watched the
I hadn't
episode.
read this, like, in the books, so I was unaware
I was
as
loosely aware of him because, like, after the season started airing, I started looking into the books a little bit more, and I
yeah.
remember coming across this piece of info. So, like, I was just like, this guy, I was like, "Oh, a vampire on a motorcycle." And I was like,
Wait a minute.
"Fang Gang? Killer?" It was just like exclamation points, like, flew up over my head.
Fear.
Yeah, I was just like, "Oh, no." Because,
Mm.
in the book, I guess spoilers for Queen of the Damned, but we're gonna meet her in season 3, I guess. But in the book, there's a Queen of the Damned, there's a girl named Baby Jenks who's a
Mhm.
14-year-old vampire who was turned by Bruce. His name's not Bruce in the books, it's just Killer. We don't know that he's got another name. But she's turned by him, and she's 14, and she then becomes his little girlfriend, and they drive around, and it's really messed up. And so when I was realizing what was happening, and then also, like, when he says that he picked that etiquette book off of another girl, this is a pattern. He's a
Yep.
serial rapist.
Yep.
And it seems with younger girls.
Yep.
And he attacks Claudia. Which is it's because she thought she was connecting with somebody.
Which
Like,
makes it even worse.
yeah.
So
And then when
she's
she
been
can
looking
kind of, yeah.
for connection all this time, and for it to, like, turn out like this,
Yeah.
it's
And you can see that she feels when the turn has happened, when, like, this person is not a safe person.
God,
But also,
a little
like,
triggering.
it's
I don't
very
know.
triggering, yeah. And she I think she hasn't experienced, like, having physical altercations with vampires,
Mhm.
because for the most part, she's been safe from, like, humans, because she's stronger than any guy who's gonna attack her, like,
Right.
on the road. She can just tear him to shreds. But
Yep.
this is a vampire,
Mhm.
and she's been stunted by being turned so young. So, when she is attacked, it's she's able to be taken down pretty fast, and
Ugh.
I think that's when she has the realization that, like, she can't travel alone, that
Mhm.
the safety she has as a vampire doesn't protect her from other vampires who want to hurt her,
Right.
um, and it's it's really sad, but I've had this conversation a couple of times because, like, I understand why people there's, like, a trend in shows and movies and books and whatever about, like, women where it sometimes leans too heavily on sexual assault as, like, a means of, like, character development, but then I think there's other times when it's, like, handled as a reality I
Mhm.
that people experience, like,
Yeah.
and I hate when people say, like, "It was included for no reason." I'm like, "What reason does it serve in real life?" You know?
Right.
People get assaulted all the time, and I do think it makes sense with Claudia being a Black teenage girl and a Black
Right.
woman. She's both at the same time, traveling through the world, especially she didn't get very far, she's still in the American South. So, traveling through that, like, this is a present danger for her no matter what, and, like, with Louis being a vampire doesn't excuse him or, like, save him from
Doesn't
being Black,
remove him
and
from being black.
yeah, and
Um,
experiencing anti-blackness and like anti-black
Yeah.
violence or like attempted violence. And the same goes for Claudia, that like being a vampire doesn't mean that she's no longer a woman, and it doesn't mean she's no longer a black woman.
Yeah.
And she's still vulnerable to that violence. Um, and
Yeah,
it,
and I kind of feel the same way. Like I'm like it wasn't also it didn't feel like gratuitous. Like it wasn't so I think that's why I'm okay with it being part of a part of the
mhm.
narrative in in her story.
And we've talked about this personally before, that I'm like, I'm also more okay with it because it's not like she's the only one in the entire story who's experienced, like,
Yeah.
sexual violence. Like, every other character in this entire
It
story is a victim of sexual violence,
yeah.
and experiences, like, sexual violence in some way. So it's not just, like, the thing given to a woman or, like, the
Right.
woman. It's a very common form of abuse that happens to a lot of people, and it does happen a lot to women, but, like, they didn't she's not the only one. So it
Yeah.
feels it doesn't strike me as misogynistic, it just strikes me as, like, realistic,
Yeah.
um, in that particular case. Like, if once again, if it was only her, but,
That would be different. Yeah,
of
yeah.
course, like, we get some, like, sexual violence that Louis experiences later in this season, and then we get in season 2, Armand shares his history with experiencing sexual violence, and then, like, there's gonna be some stuff with Lestat and sexual violence, and so it's just, like, they've all experienced it, um, and it is a very prevalent part of the Vampire Chronicles in general,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, but then we see also at home with Louis and Lestat,
Oh
it's
yeah.
I always think back to the podcast where the original Interview with the Vampire, podcast where Naomi said it got very Grey Gardens, and I was like, "Yes!" Oh my gosh, it does get very Grey Gardens. For those of you who haven't seen Grey Gardens, I was gonna say watch it, but it is a documentary, so that happened to real people. Um, but yeah, it's very claustrophobic.
Yes.
It's so gothic. The house has fallen into disrepair to represent how their relationship is in shambles.
And yep, yep.
Yeah. And they're quipping, like not quipping, but like they're sending jabs at each other, and like it's just not a good situation, but also neither one of them will leave. Um
I know.
They're, like, locked in it,
They're
like,
like
they refuse to be, like, because I even feel like for, like, Louis, him we learn later that he kinda made a promise to stay. I'm like, "Claudia's gone, and
yeah,
that's the
at
that
this
was
point and
keeping him. He could leave. What's keeping
exactly.
him here?" I guess maybe the fact that Claudia might come
Might come
home.
back. I think that's
Yeah,
a
and
big
then
he's
Lestat
very
won't leave.
hopeful.
Lestat's not gonna be the one to leave. Um, so they're just
Not
stuck
this
together
time.
out of, like,
Not with Louis.
yeah.
So
That's what I
other
mean. Like, he's not gonna leave Louis.
yeah.
We've seen what has to happen in order for him to leave Louis.
Yeah. And it's also the conversations that are being had here is something else we talked about because in this scene, Lasat's like, okay, you still think about Claudia, you're always thinking about Claudia, but meanwhile, here I am with my big ass dick, and you're still thinking about Claudia,
Mhm,
and I'm just like, once again, both like Lestat and like later Armand, they position themselves as like competition, like as Claudia as competition in the relationship,
mhm.
which is very.
It's not good, but
'Cause why are you
yeah.
bringing that up? Like,
I think for a long time, Lestat's kind of seen Claudia as
oh yeah,
the other woman, which is why I think he felt okay to cheat, because he's like, "Louis has somebody else, let me grab somebody else."
mm,
Um, and, that's
yes.
his own stuff, but, like,
It's once
it's
again goes back to like already like all the weird boundaries that have been crossed since the beginning of this like
yeah.
little familial dynamic, and it just continues
And
further, and it
yeah,
just kind of more ickier and ickier as you go
And I
along.
think, Lestat's own insecurities because, like, you know, he was in a weird, uncomfortable relationship that was born out of the fact that, like, him and his mom were the two people who were being abused in the household, and they find this,
Yeah.
camaraderie out of that uh, abuse, like, being like, we have to have each other's backs because no one else in this house has our backs, and then, of course, boundaries get crossed there. And so I think Lestat has already seen because like Louis and Claudia have they have the mind gift. They can talk to each other telepathically, and
Mhm.
so Lestat's already like, well, they have this connection because um, of the mind gift, and so they have an understanding that I don't have with either one of them. And I think he doesn't understand that like not everyone has these loosey goosey boundaries between family.
Yeah.
Um, and I even think that, like, because they're vampiric family, he sees it as even looser. Because, like,
Mhm.
Louis and Claudia are not related.
Right.
They're not. That's not actually his daughter. That's not actually his sister. That is just a girl who lives in their house that they have, you know, and been like, we're going to be a family. But like, Claudia isn't blood. Like, she's not literally their biological daughter.
Mhm.
And I think that is also a concern as well. Even though
To
he knows
him.
that, like, yeah, to
Yeah.
him, where it's just like the lines are murkier. Like, and so his own insecurity, like you said, like gets all caught up in it. And he doesn't, he, once this is another instance of him not asking for understanding or like asking Louis to explain what's going on or how
Yeah.
he's feeling.
Yeah.
He just assumes he knows
Yeah.
and just they don't talk. And I also don't think Louis wants to talk to him, but like
But he
why
also
would
doesn't
he?
try.
He doesn't
He
try.
doesn't try to empathize. We don't get to
Yeah,
see,
we see him trying to distract Louis by being like, "Oh, what if we went out?" And
but
Louis
that's not what
obviously
Louis
really doesn't wanna go
wants.
out, yeah, but him being like, "Tell me what's how you feeling. Tell me what's like, I know that you're sad that Claudia's gone, but, like, why is this hitting you so hard?" Like, even if he was just like, "Why does this mean so much to you? We had so many years before her, and now we have so many years where she's not here. I wanna understand what this means to you." Like, that's not the most delicate way to phrase it, but I still think is more of a conversation starter than anything Lestat says,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
Because that's where the Lestat's at. He's just like, "We've spent more time without her than we've had with her. Like, what's the point? Just it was she was a blip in our lives, and now she's gone." Or at least he's trying to make her seem like a blip in their lives. Um, and then we get the call from Grace.
Ugh, God, please. It hurts me so bad. It hurts me so bad.
Yeah.
Their relationship just makes me so emotional. Um, and she's like, "Yeah, for me, I gotta pretend you're dead.
Mhm.
Like, sorry, I don't even know who you are anymore. You're not my brother. Like, I
No.
don't know who you are. So I'll you have to be essentially you're dead at this point to me, and we have to move on, which is heartbreaking.
Yeah, when she buries him.
Yeah, God. Uh,
And Claudia sees, and, like,
Claudia is
it's revealed
listening.
that, like, Claudia's been back, and she's just kind of following them, Louis and Lestat, around because she doesn't know what else to do. She's, like, not ready to go home. These are the only people, like, that she feels like she can understand, but then also, this is when she draws her own conclusion where she's like, "They made me to be Louis's sister."
Mhm.
Um, and I also think that's a dynamic now that she feels is gonna work better for her.
Right.
Um,
That allows
and
her a little bit more. It doesn't exactly happen, but allows her a little bit more autonomy,
Mhm.
so that she's on more of a equal playing field to Louis,
And I
at the
think it
very
makes
least.
sense that, like, she's Louis's sister, and then that's the person she's like, "I'm gonna take him with me to travel,"
Right.
because she knows at this point, and then I think she tries to wrangle it in the next episode, but, like, um, she kind of understands that, like, Lestat is never he's always gonna be the father, you know? He's
Mhm.
always gonna be their, like, their maker.
Mhm.
And he's not gonna, like, acquiesce to, like, taking that step down, not really, but Louis might be more open to it, especially because he just lost his sister. Like,
Right.
she's leaving his life, and Claudia has, it's like since episode 4, looked at the situation and seen how she can step in to, um, help the situation and, like, ease the
Right.
tension, and so she's like, and it works out for her. It just so happens that this role is a better role for her personally.
Yeah.
So she's like, "An opening."
I know, something just opened up.
Yeah, there's availability open. I'm going to put forward my application. But
Slides
yes,
it over.
slides it over. So yeah, she returns home and things this is when everything goes bad.
I'm like, "Where's my emotional support, Louis? He's way back there. I can't hold him,
Yeah,
but it's fine."
yeah, this is one of the hardest scenes in the entire show for sure. Because it's the most despite like the fact that there's a lot of vampiric strength being thrown around, it's also the most like grounded straight up horror where it's like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
horror is that Lestat is beating his husband.
Yeah.
It's that he is hurting his partner for protecting their daughter
Yeah.
because he feels like he's going to be abandoned and he can't. I'm so sorry.
Sorry, sorry, y'all. That episode be fucking me up so bad. Oh my
Yeah.
god, it fucks me up so bad. And like alongside the like the abuse that's happening. By the way, why we see that Louis does later on and gets some like licks in. Before he
Yeah.
gets licks in, you see the scene where Lestat's like literally like
Hitting him.
punch. Yeah,
I remember when I saw that moment for the first time, my literal thought was there's no coming back from this.
no, that's literally like, I don't think you guys understand my cat, oh my god. I don't think y'all understand how I felt. I wish I could describe it, but that also was kind of essentially it. Cause I was like I think back then still probably also more like, kinda more shippy mode. Now these days, I'm, like, more like I have, things I like, but, like, I'm very much interested in, like, thinking more about the narrative and what's happening and blah blah
Mm,
blah blah. But I was like, "Oh, they can't come back from this. Like, this is no. Like, what do you do now? Like, I don't." I was so distraught. I was like, "I
yeah.
don't. You can't. You literally can't." But
Mhm.
the other thing that was also very just like hard that made it really hard to watch was Claudia experiencing it, being like yeah, she's coming in just to be sister, but she's also still daughter, and watching your parents fight, and very specifically watching Louis get beat up and hearing that, it's so disturbing.
And
It's so disturbing.
yeah, and
Ugh.
she instantly
Ugh.
it goes back to child mode in my opinion when like she runs out to the courtyard and she calls him Uncle Les because like
Yeah.
she feels so small and
Yeah.
like she feels like she can't do anything because she
Yeah.
can't. What's she gonna do? Like she tries to jump on his back and like pull him off, and that allows Louis to get some hits in. That allows Louis to like we see like Louis like able to like push him back, but like she can't but she gets her leg messed up. Like she's limping for that bit because she's too small.
Mm.
She's too young and
Sometimes I
she's yeah.
sometimes I think people forget how terrifying that episode was.
It's so
I think
rough.
post season 2 people forgot because I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, even though we get bits and pieces, but like we get like it filtered through Lestat's recollection of events, we forget the fear from the people who experienced it, because like up until this point, Louis is not, he doesn't know the breadth of
Yeah,
Lestat's
and he's not
power.
scared of Lestat,
No, he's
like
not. He's never felt, I don't think he feels scared of him. I think
yeah.
like even though he knows that Lestat can get very angry, like he's never been in danger
Never
before.
felt he's had to shrink back or anything like that. Like, he's been
Yeah.
able to push back as what he says that Lestat enjoyed, but I guess there comes a point.
Because there's a difference between like, I think having an argument and having a fight, especially with someone who experiences like rage to the level that Lestat does. And I do think back to like there was like that interview with Sam Reed where he was like, whenever he shows Lestat angry, he tries to incorporate a lot of like toxic masculine rage in
Mhm,
it. And it's like you feel that in
mhm.
this situation. And like he does like when he takes him up into the air, when he drags him out,
The
first of
dra
all.
that's that was the worst part. Oh
Yeah.
god.
I remember my jaw dropping. I didn't know what to do. And then like he picks him up in the air, and like he's saying these things to Louis that I'm like, you should have said this months ago. This is
Mhm,
things you should have said months ago, which is
mhm,
like the if you don't want me anymore, tell me to go. Because
mhm,
like, but you're doing it in this moment and expecting to get anything out of it when
mhm,
you've hurt him beyond anything.
mhm.
Like it takes so like what was it, like 3 years, we learned in the next a couple of years at the very least, a long time for Louis to physically even begin to like get mostly
Right.
okay from this. Especially because like Louis mostly drinking animal blood, so like he's super weak on top of all of it. Like,
Yeah.
and then like, like a coward, Lestat runs off afterwards.
And
um
leaves Claudia to fix everything.
Claudia to fix
Claudia to
everything.
take care of Louis, Claudia to clean the house now that the depression piles have piled up. Like,
Yeah.
that tends to become her role, is someone to fix
Yeah.
fix everything. Oh god.
I think that's like an echoing of like she was made to be the one to fix this relationship. She's the one, and she's like, I can usually jump in and fix things. And so, but at this point, I think she doesn't resent Louis for taking like for having to take care of him, but I do
Mhm.
think that part of, for many reasons, part of like the reasons, but one of them that she doesn't want to invite Lestat back in is because she's sick and tired of having to be the one who cleans it up. Like when they have a blowout, it's her responsibility to do something about it.
Right.
Um, and that's something that they don't think about. They were like,
Mhm.
this is about us. It's not. Once you
It's
have a
not.
kid, it's about them too.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, geez.
Mm. Y'all. Yeah. Honestly, for me, this is like the heaviest um episode for me to honestly out of both seasons. Even
Hmm.
the trial was like devastating, but like
Jesus.
there's something about this. I think
Yeah.
like the slow like tension and dread building up, and then like the explosion of it, and then like once again
Hmm.
see it coming from Claudia's like perspective and the violence of it and the fear. Ugh, I can't. It's the
Yeah.
hardest one for me out of like all of them.
Yeah. I also think like as opposed to like the trial, because like the trial, there is the fantastical element of it, of them being like, we're a bunch of vampires putting them on trial in front of this audience of humans, and this is just straight up and down real bad, like bad things that happen to real people happening to people, like
Mhm.
what happens to Claudia and like what happens to like Louis and Claudia, like the domestic violence incident here. Like it's just the the reality of the horror of abuse,
Mm.
and the reality of the horror of living with someone who is not a safe person to be with.
Mm.
And
Which makes the next following episodes hard, honestly,
Yeah.
too, in a different way. But
Yeah, I
we'll get
think
into that
this one
soon.
to me, like episode 4 introduces, I think, the domestic horror, and then this one is the culmination of it, and then everything else is kind of the fallout
Yeah.
of this moment. Um, and once again, like we said when I first watched it, and the same, like we were both like, we can't come back from this.
When I
Um,
say y'all don't understand, distraught for a week, literally distraught for a week. I'm like, having to wait. Some of y'all weren't there. Some of y'all didn't have to wait a week for the next episode. Y'all don't understand.
no.
Y'all weren't living like I was. Y'all didn't have to suffer like I did. Okay,
Me,
I was there. I was
I
there.
was there.
Oh God.
Me and my roommate were watching it, and we just looked at each other afterwards like, we have
And then
plans today.
there was another thing, because also as a black like watcher of this, having to deal with people trying to want to make excuses for Lestat
Mhm.
already before it even came out, try to be like, oh, this is not true. Oh, he would never do this, even though there's evidence in like the books that
Yeah.
he'd be
He's
getting
put his
violent.
hands on his partners before.
Nikki and like, but like having to also deal with that at the same time while also having to process it myself, I'm just like,
It also, I think this to me is an episode where they do this a couple of times. I can't think of the other times off the top of my head, but this is one of the moments where it's like they take a throwaway line and are like, "What did you mean by that?" Because like Louis in the book says that he had to fight Lestat to protect Claudia a couple of times in the book, and they were like
mm,
ferocious fights. But that's two lines. Louis just says that in the book and then moves on. But
mm.
the show is like,
No, we're
what did
getting
you
into
mean
it.
by that?
They're
Especially
like,
when, like, Lestat, as we kind of learn in the book, the vampire Lestat, he had drunk Akasha's blood. He was
yeah,
way stronger than Louis. And so here, when it's like, not only has that happened, he's also 100 and something. He's almost 200 years old. Like,
yeah.
so all of that power's been marinating. And what happens if you have a blowout fight with somebody who has now lost the ability to hold himself back? Like,
Mm,
it's not a cute little, like, whatever. He is angry. What do
mhm,
you do about that? And the answer is you can't. There's nothing you can do. Um, like they say it in season 2, and they're like, Lestat's a hurricane. It's just like you have to just like barrel down and withstand it. Like he's gonna destroy everything. And it's yeah. Anyway,
God, uh, I'm glad we watched it together at least yesterday, and I didn't have to watch by myself. And I had
yeah.
my little stuffed ghost. It's my cat. I'm not
No, it's
pausing
not
it
your
again.
cat. That's the young man.
Oh wait, that is a young man eating her crumbs. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, I guess yeah. Well, that
Well,
was episode 4 and 5. Um, I'm tired. I was
yeah.
tired when we rewatched it afterwards. I was like, God, and I had shit to still do, and I'm like, God.
Yeah.
Uh. Anyways, thank you for joining us in this discussion. And this recap. It's
Remember
kind
we
of a
said we were
blend.
hoping it was going to be 45 minutes?
LOL. We were like, we're only doing 2 episodes. It'll be even shorter
It's
this
two of
time.
the densest, heaviest episodes.
Yeah. And to be honest, I feel like we still only scratched the surface,
Oh,
really.
yeah.
Like, we could have gotten into it even more, but since this is more of a recap, we just added a little discussion. If there's, of course, any topics that you want us to delve deeper into, we definitely can. But
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, obviously, we
yeah.
wanna talk about this show. Ugh, it's just a
But
lot. In a good way, it's a lot, but, like, my god.
sometimes in a good way. As in, it's great television,
It's
but
great
it's rough.
television, but my blood pressure.
Yeah. Oh, God. But like I said, thank you for joining us. Leave comments below, like join the discussion if you'd
Mhm.
like. Love to see how you felt watching these episodes as well. uh Also today, the first trailer for like Armada came out. I don't know. Comment on that if
Man,
you want.
you don't understand what that meant to me.
That Drew's like, "That meant something to me."
It meant something to me, especially because I just came off my lunch and I was like, "Ugh, time to go back to work." And you were like, you just sent it to me with just in all caps Armand, and I was like,
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
I don't know. I was gonna say it. I was like, I got a cryptic message on Tumblr a couple days ago that just said it's Armand time, and I'm like,
Who is that?
Assad Zaman, if that's your secret burner Tumblr account, come out of hiding. I can be trusted.
But yeah, I mean, if you want to comment on that, feel free.
Mhm.
I don't care. But yeah, we really do and appreciate y'all like listening
Yeah.
and like, comment, subscribe, all those things. Listen to our little podcast where we like do go in depth about the intersections of
Mhm.
all of this. And that's it. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.